Welcome to Inside the Force. I'm Greg Grunberg, a.k.a. Snap Wexley.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here. And in for Casey this week, who is out on vacation, is, I was just looking this up, a real long time podcaster with me, obviously, on a lot of stuff, but it's amazing how long it's been since you've been on this show. But Chad Perkins.
Hello.
Do you realize the last time you were on the show?
Probably like 2 years ago.
Try 3 years ago.
Wow. What is the problem? Why? Well, have you not been getting the fan mail? Do you
I guess
answer?
not. I mean, honestly, a lot of people probably don't even know who you are on the show. So,
wow. Well, hello, new listeners.
yes.
My name's Chad. Part of the 21 Network and 21 Productions.
Yes.
And you will listen to everything I have to say. No,
Very good.
yeah.
No, I had to. I was going back, page after page on the website. Like, okay, wait a minute. He's not on that. He's not in that 10. He's not in this 10. He's not in because it's in grouped in tens.
Yeah.
It was episode. I'm not even joking. It was episode 16.
What? And you're on what? 150.
Well, okay. So wait a minute. So that was the last time. Wait. So that was the last time you were listed as a guest, July 9th, 2013. Wow. Now wait a minute. No, that was right, because I was thinking that maybe we did something. I was thinking we did a compilation thing of something to do with Star Wars, but I think that was on the 21 podcast. I really don't think you've been a guest on here since July of 2013. Because I looked up, you remember we were doing trivia then. And I looked up your record.
Yeah.
You were 2-0 as a guest.
Yeah, well, pretty smart.
So yeah, and then we stopped doing trivia back when we kind of went canon. Mm-hmm. But anyway, just to recap for people that because I'm pretty positive we picked up a lot of listeners since then. we're on episode 163 right now.
I would hope so.
So that's 100. That's like 140 something episodes. That's like over that's 3 years worth of episodes. Anyway. So yeah, Chad Perkins, really, really great friend of mine and a big contributor to 21 Productions, 21 Network. He's had several of his own shows. Currently, he is actually hosting his own Bourbon Network on Bourbon Channel on the YouTube channel. It's a Bourbon Night.
Yes, indeed. And actually, fortuitous that I'm on first time in 3 years on this day, which is Repeal Day. So happy Repeal Day, Dave.
What is Repeal Day?
It is this day back in 1933 that Prohibition was repealed after 13 years of being in law. Yeah, so
that was complete coincidence. I'm not trying to pull him on here to plug his own stuff.
No. It was complete coincidence, actually.
Yeah. So get on YouTube and search that if you guys are interested in bourbon at all. Obviously, most drinkers dabble in the bourbon, and Chad is a huge bourbon connoisseur. But he's also an avid Star Wars fan.
Yes.
And it's a shame you can punch me tomorrow, but that I haven't had you on the show as often. But
I guess neither one of you or Casey hasn't been absent.
Correct.
Or you found some other guest host.
No. That's the thing is me and Casey are pretty consistent with the show, which I'm proud of, and we're both huge, obviously, in the Star Wars news and relevancy of all the mediums, books, TV, comics, So that's, since we are so deep into it all, it's good that we get together every week and talk about it. I mean, we be doing that anyway, so why not? That's why we did a podcast. And we built, I just want to make sure people get, that we have other people part of our social ranks here, and Russ, yourself, Corey, of course, has been on. He's been on about a few times after that, but definitely want to have Chad on here. I wanted to get Russ on here, but he's tied up tonight. But we definitely want to get people's perspective as we go into. Rogue One is literally 10 days away. 10 days away. My birthday's only 5 days, but we won't talk about that. So we've got, I wanted to get Chad on here, and so this episode's going to be a little different. We're just going to talk about a lot of things with Rogue One, and some other things, maybe some Rebels and stuff like that. But the next week, I wanted to kind of give everyone a preview, because normally we record on Thursdays, and get the show out to you on Friday. But Rogue One comes out on Thursday, so me and Casey are going to put out a show next Tuesday, probably, that is our Rogue One kind of predictions and what we expect from it. And we did that for episode 7 last year, and it's funny because a couple guys that listened to the show commented and sent us emails saying, "God, you guys were right on. I'm never going to listen to you guys again before a movie," and stuff like that. So if you are worried about spoilers, you might not want to listen to next week's episode.
It's speculation.
It's speculation, but
it might just be true.
It might turn out to be a spoiler, which, we both said that Han was going to die, and a lot of people were questioning whether it'd be Han, it'd be Leia, it'd be Chewbacca, So
I kind of thought it would be Chewie. Really.
Yeah, I was on the Chewie bandwagon for a long time.
But then when I was watching the movie, as soon as he stepped out on that balcony, I was like, well, there we go. Yep, balcony. It's happening.
Yeah, that was you're like, don't go out there. What are you doing? So we all obviously were thrilled with episode 7. And now we've got Rogue One, which it took a long time for Rogue One to start kick up its marketing. Now the first trailer wasn't released until I think we looked back, it was like late March, early April, something like that, which was on Good Morning America. The first teaser was released. So obviously that started the speculation, and then we got a couple trailers after that. How much, Chad, have you been, besides trailers really, because I know you're watching trailers, but how much are you diving into, TV spots and other things and feature ads that they've been releasing? How much, or how much have you been watching, or how much have you been staying away from that kind of stuff?
Basically just the trailers, the domestic and international, and the TV spots. I think I may have watched some featurettes, but really just, sanctioned official Star Wars stuff. I haven't really been watching the YouTube videos about predictions and rumors. Well, somewhat. I'll watch, if Nerdist News puts out an episode about, Rogue One, I'll watch that, because they're usually not too terribly spoily.
They're usually way off, too.
Yeah. But they'll also report on, these other sites that usually get it right, like that, was it Latino News or
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That usually, I don't know, they have a mole inside of Lucasfilm or something. They usually get things pretty right. So they'll report on that and things, but I haven't really been seeking it out too much. And also, to kind of speak on this, as far as the hype behind Rogue One, I feel like in the beginning, when it was still really new, back before, like you said, their big marketing push, it was very much in the shadow of Episode 7. Right. Because everyone was, of course, anticipating Episode 7, and it was part of the the trilogy, and it's an episodic movie, and this is really groundbreaking, as you certainly know, as we all know, as listeners know, the first spin-off, the first non-episodic Star Wars movie ever.
Yes.
Not counting animated, live action.
Yes.
So I think it was really kind of overshadowed by a lot of that. But here recently, probably in the past 3 months, the excitement for me has really been building. Oh my, yes.
Yeah, and that's a very good point to talk about, because you're right. I feel like, I was amped up for it, just because I just breathe it every day, and I understand and know the storyline really that's happening in it and how much it connects to episode 4. But I don't know how many, me and Casey talked about this a few times. Like, we're so engrossed into it every day in our lives. Basically, it's like because we look for Star Wars news almost every day, pretty much. But there's a lot of people out there that don't do that. A lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you forget sometimes that not many people are as excited as you are, and only mainly because they just may not know, or they don't know what's going on really in the world of Lucasfilm and Disney and all that stuff, and unless they see it on television, like a TV spot, or you're right, or it's on like Today's Show or something like that. That's all they're really getting out of it. So it takes now, which is the last few weeks, where it's almost on every TV program. They're running all these spots. So I do feel like you just said, I do feel like the attention and the excitement for this film is just exponentially grown the last few months, especially the last couple of weeks. And I feel like more people are talking about it now, especially on social media. More people are excited about it. Pre-sales, obviously, it's not a surprise. It's number 2 all time behind Force Awakens. So it's going to do a ton of money, the first weekend, and then we'll see whether or not it lasts. But so going back a little bit, like you just said, this being the first spin-off movie, what was your initial feelings about hearing about a spin-off movie from Star Wars?
Well, and I feel I kind of come from a little different place, maybe from you and Casey, which is good,
Mm-hmm.
Give the listeners a little bit of a little different perspective here. And we've talked about this on the 21 podcast, but I went through a myriad of emotions when Disney bought Lucasfilm,
mm-hmm.
which led to the eventual nervousness about spin-offs and, oh God, they're going to recast people from the original trilogy, and there's going to be someone else playing Han, and there's probably going to be someone else playing Luke, and
mm-hmm.
and they're just it's so nervousness,
Yeah,
anxiety, dry mouth, drowsiness, loss of breath, things like that.
Okay.
Diarrhea. No, I'm kidding. So, yeah, my nervousness came from the potential just cash grab.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone can understand and understand that. Star Wars is the most popular, most successful trilogy, right? That's not debatable, right? That's commodity, brand.
Yeah.
It's I would say it's bigger than Disney itself.
Yes, that's a very good argument. Yes.
Yeah, Disney owns it. What? Now that they're coming out with a movie a year, and it's 2 years between episodic movies instead of the 3 that we were used to with George,
mm-hmm.
It got me a little nervous. It's like, are they going to water this thing down, and are they going to dilute it, and are they going to rush it? And 20 movies later, we're going to be like, enough with the Star Wars stuff. That's like the last thing that I would ever want to say.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, the best pessimist in me, just worrying about things. So that's where I was. But, so far, so good.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
And
Now, did you feel it? Because I know you. As far as Star Wars is, you're Mr. Optimist. You're you're an optimist. There we go.
yeah.
So how did you feel any of what I just expressed?
Well, yeah, in the very beginning, when I don't even know how many times we debated it on the show, on not this show, but 21 podcast, which is what we had at the time when Lucasfilm got bought. We all kind of thought, we all obviously were excited that because they announced 7, 8, 9 at the same time. So we're like, wow, we're actually getting 7, 8, 9, which was fine because you knew, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill were all older, and they would, there was rumors even about that stuff getting, Lucas actually talking about doing it at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was excited about that, but yes, I was only worried in the sense that I was only worried, honestly, in the sense that, which is funny because I know you're never gonna agree with this, but I was only nervous because it wasn't coming from George anymore.
No, I can get behind that.
Okay.
I mean, look, there was the prequels.
Yes,
Okay, that happened.
that did happen.
Say what you will about it, but there was 4, 5, and 6.
Absolutely.
There was 4, 5, and 6.
And people still don't. The Clone Wars was a great television series,
Absolutely.
and all that came from George. And I was upset that that got canceled in the wake of the buyout,
Right.
because I felt like it was just getting better and better every year.
And that video game that looked awesome.
Yes, 1313.
And-
Yes,
Yes. And the Stupid Monkey show.
yes.
What was that called? Detours.
Detours. You're correct.
Yeah.
You're
And
right.
then
You're right.
Here comes Disney. And all that stuff was flushed down. That was a toilet flushing sound. It's not a radio show. It's not a morning show. We don't have a sound effects button. Got to do it myself. So we're like, great. So no, I see where you're coming from. Go on.
So that was a concern, but I'll tell you the moment, because that happened in we said this, the buyout happened late 2012, so it was 4 years ago. And I'll tell you what turned it around for me was in early 2014. I think it was April 2014 when Lucasfilm, Disney, whatever, Lucasfilm really, Kathleen Kennedy announced the story group. That did it for me right there. That told me, because especially with Leland Chee and Pablo Hidalgo on that council, and then of course you had some other guys that have been there forever at Lucasfilm, and when you read the description of what they were intended to do, what their job is, what they're tasked to do, which is create the stories that intertwine with each other in all these mediums and make sure that they all exist together and is seamless. And also, not only that, but so it's not just continuity, it's really about the storytelling, and that stories aren't repeated, that we're getting fresh new stories and new takes on these characters, and and then of course that's when they announced, obviously in conjunction with that the EU was non-canon now officially, and that they were going to create everything from now on to be part of that canon, comics, books, TV shows. And that to me told me right there, okay, they are dedicated. Kathleen Kennedy is probably, inarguably, I think, the best person to run Lucasfilm at the time. And I think that's what George saw, when he first appointed, because he appointed her before the buyout. Mm-hmm. I mean, probably in knowing that was going to happen, but she was president before the buyout, and what she's done, because a lot of this, all of this stems from her now, is create a cohesive storyline. Now, I'll tell you, the comics, so there's, in every story, even me, you say I'm an optimist. I am optimistic on every story, but I've read a lot of things, a lot of new stuff over the past couple of years with the books and the comics, and there are a lot of stories in there I'm just not a fan of. I don't want to, for example, like the Chewbacca comic was not that good. The Lando comic was excellent. The Leia one, okay. I'm doing a lot of audiobooks now, so I'm catching up with the novels. Tarkin was fantastic. I'm doing Catalyst right now, fantastic. I did a New Dawn, not so good. So even though I appreciate the stories and I get a bigger perspective of these characters, there's just and the story in this writing is just okay, in some things. And I think you're going to get a lot of that if you have a lot of material out there, right? So if you just have the movies and you just have a TV show every once in a while, to me it's less likely that there's going to be anything that I'm not in love with. But with all this stuff that's coming out there now, it's and we're going to get even more. I mean, there's more games coming out. There's more comics coming out. More TV shows, series, like on Netflix and stuff like that's in the works. So it's only going to get exponentially more of what, and that fear, like you were mentioning, though, that fear of dilution and quality, it's still somewhat there, but I don't know. I put the faith. I got to put the faith in the story group that they're going to try to put the best story out there that they can, that they believe furthers the Star Wars legacy. And I'm going to obviously be behind it. I just may not agree with a lot of the stuff they put out, but I think what they're doing with the films. JJ was a home run on episode 7. I mean, I don't know if anybody. I'm not sure how many people there probably is, but I'm just not sure how many people could have made that movie like that. And Gareth Edwards with Rogue One. I mean, they're getting quality filmmakers and quality cast for these movies, and as long as they keep doing that, the movies are going to make billions of dollars. I mean, that ain't even going to be a question mark. So I don't know. I'm with you. I think there was definitely hesitation always in the beginning, but I think I really do think A Force Awakens was that measuring stick. I mean, if Force Awakens would have somehow bombed, I'm not sure how much Star Wars we'd be talking about right now as far as what's coming.
Right.
I mean, so, the thing about it is, I mean, you look at when we grew up, how much toys there were. God, how much toys there are now with Star Wars. So, and it's weird because it's not just kids buying it and playing with it. We're still acting as kids in the sense where we're buying this stuff and keeping it in a box and shoving it on our shelves.
Yeah.
So you talk about all that merchandise that's getting moved right now. It's phenomenal. It's incredible. And then of course, the one aspect that they it's not really tied to the storylines of it, but they got these card games coming out too, right? These new Star Wars card games that are.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've been involved with the card game, and now they got this one called Destiny that's out that are people just going crazy over. So it's every medium you can ask for, it's getting in. So I don't know. I mean, do you feel like it's diluting the product at all yet, or do you feel like has that potential still?
No, not yet. And I remember a time back in probably early to mid 90s when I kind of decided there was nothing. The prequels weren't even on the horizon. I mean, they were on the horizon, but they weren't public. People didn't know about it.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm getting back into. I want to continue Star Wars. So I was like, anything that anyone sees Star Wars, save it for me, whatever it is. article in the newspaper, whatever. I want to collect more Star Wars stuff, and there just not being a whole lot out there. I guess the Power of the Force toys were out there, at that time. It's never gone away, right, since it started, but it was definitely a lull. And I was just kind of craving more of it. Now here we are in a time where you can't watch a commercial break without seeing something for Star Wars. And, now I'm talking about, I don't want it to be too much and diluted. So it's kind of you kind of have to, one, be careful what you wish for. Two, be thankful for what you have. But no, I don't think it's diluted as far as quality. That hasn't happened yet. And hopefully it won't ever. Mm-hmm. It's definitely out there in pop culture so much that I wonder how long it can sustain itself before the more fair weather fans are like, ugh, okay, I get it, enough. Like people do with fads. Name a fad, whatever it is. Like, is anyone still playing Pokemon Go? I don't know. It's like that.
Right.
It hits us over the head, with it, and then eventually it's like, oh, can you remember when we actually were into that or whatever? So that's kind of a fear, and we don't, as hardcore, purist fans, don't ever have to worry about that. But like I said, you're kind of fair weather fan of going, all right, okay, enough. I can't walk into Target or McDonald's or wherever, Subway, without
seeing a Star Wars.
A droid beeping at me or something. So that's kind of, that.
But it's also pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely, and especially for us. But it would kind of suck if because it's a weird type of arc here. You talk about the geek and nerd culture that used to be shunned, and now all that stuff is cool. And Star Wars, like it or not, it was kind of lumped into that stuff, right? Even Star Trek and Dungeons and Dragons also. Nerd stuff, geek culture, blah blah blah. But then it's cool, and then it's like, let's go see superhero movies because they're the biggest thing in the world, in the theater, and let's all this stuff and Nerdist and Geek and Sundry and all these things. It's cool. But if that bubble bursts and drops out, and then people are like, ugh, nerds with your Star Wars or whatever it is, I could see it, and it probably weren't meaning to get this granular on this topic, or maybe whatever, but that would kind of suck because it's back and it's everywhere and everyone loves it and it's embraced and it's this it's this warm feeling, and hopefully that never goes away. And two things that could make that go away are with it being everywhere, like I just said, and the second would be if the quality takes a dive.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely haven't seen the quality take a dive. So that's really all I'm concerned about.
Right.
And I'm happy that it hasn't, and hope that it never will.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Now back to kind of Rogue One in a sense, but even a little bit with Force Awakens. What do you feel like it was a good idea? Because with all with Lucas, with Disney now owning it all, and you have the 6 movies out there, you have the Clone Wars out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now with Rebels, with Rogue One, with even with even Force Awakens, have you felt like their decision to stay around the era of the original trilogy, was that the best move to make?
Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that mainly comes down to, for people our age or younger or older, have been waiting to see Han, Luke, and Leia again. And the fact that all three of those actors are alive still.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you bring Star Wars back after 30 plus years, and you don't have Han, Luke, and Leia when those actors are still out there and alive. And, if you remember back my criticism of the movie, was we never got the payoff of Han, Luke, and Leia being in the same scene together. And
now they never can be.
Yes. So here is this tremendous opportunity to see this trio, this trinity, back on screen. The Skywalker twins and Han Solo. And we're never going to get that. Unless Luke can bring Han back as a Force Ghost or something. I don't know. I mean, he's a powerful Jedi. Who knows what he can do?
Yeah, but no, and I think that was lost. I don't know anybody. To be honest, I don't know anybody else besides you that brought that up, that was talking about that, because everybody was so
trademark
thrilled.
Chad Perkins.
Everybody was so thrilled that obviously everybody was so thrilled that Han was in the movie just because of Harrison Ford and just that whole shot of him and Chewie, we're home kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was going crazy about that, and there was all the whole time there was a speculation of how much is Luke in the movie? Is he, because this whole thing about searching for him and all this stuff. So there was that fear that that we weren't going to see them on screen again, but no one talked about that. No one mentioned that, and I agree with you. After I didn't even think about it really until you brought it up, and I agree with you. I'm a little bummed that we didn't see the three. I mean, that would have been the shot of all shots.
Oh my God!
You know what I mean?
You talk about the Han and Chewie coming out on the Millennium Falcon, times that by 1,000,000.
Yes,
because
I completely agree.
From almost the get-go, from Episode 4 all the way to the end of Episode 6, it was those three together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, practically, the end of Episode 4, you got them together. You had Luke and Leia at the end of Episode 5, just because Han was in carbonite. But at the end of 5, or at the end of 6, they're all together. It's all, and there's that shot of them three embracing, beaten with, at the time they thought they beat the Empire, kind of thing. So you're right. I mean, now it's like, and the fact that you find out that Han had a son that Luke trained, you know what I mean? It's like, man, there's so much story there that maybe we'll get in some of these novels and whatnot, but you're never going to see it. You're never going to see it.
Not from those three actors. Now 20 years down the road, they may do Episode 4.8 or something.
They better not. They better not.
A movie where they've recast it and he gets
so
there,
let's do a little side tangent then, real quick. Han Solo movie coming out. Your feelings on that?
Well,
I think I can probably guess.
Well, where I stand on the whole recasting thing. Now, I'm always hoping to be pleasantly surprised. And I admit it when I am. Case in point, Batfleck.
Yeah.
I thought Ben Affleck did a really good job as being Batman.
Okay.
I admit it. Still don't like him. Don't like him. But, he was good. So I would admit it if I thought whoever this Joker's name is that's playing young Han Solo does a really good job. And I'm sure he's not going to suck.
He's not going to suck.
Yeah, he's not
but
going
there
to
is
suck.
there is a personality to Han Solo.
Yeah.
That is very, look,
it's called Harrison Ford.
I was about to say, yes, it's Harrison Ford. And, it's a little Indiana Jones. So I don't know how much you've heard or listened to me and Casey talk about this, but would you be on board with them digitally manipulating him to look like Harrison Ford?
Well,
More like Harrison Ford.
so are we talking about a Looper situation with Bruce Willis and
No, we're talking about not prosthetics. We're talking about Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War. Or Michael Douglas in Ant-Man.
Right. I think my eyes would be happier. You know, I'd be like, look, it's young Harrison Ford. But you know, it's not going to be his voice. It's not going to be him. I think on the surface level, I would be happier, but I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough question.
Or would you be satisfied with enough of the prosthetics to make it look similar?
Nah, that would probably, because it took me like the entire movie to get used to Joseph Gordon-Levitt sort of looking like Bruce Willis. I
still don't think he looked like Bruce Willis. But
yeah, I know. He got the voice really good. He
Yeah.
got his mannerisms down really well. He like changes his voice in just about every movie he does, like the Snowden movie. You know. Anyway, I don't know. I think it would be distracting if it was prosthetics, and we've never really seen a whole movie where they've done that to an actor, right?
No, and I can't imagine it being too cheap. So I
It
doubt
looked
that
awful
they
in
would
Tron
do it.
Legacy.
Well, that was a complete digital person, though. They didn't. That wasn't a. They didn't. You know, he didn't stand in and they manipulate his face. That was a complete
Mo-capped
digital
him.
character. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, this would be basically a bunch of dots on the actor,
yeah.
and then they would go back in and put Harrison Ford's face over him, and kind of what they did with
Winklevoss him. They'll Winklevoss him, like Armie Hammer did in Social Network.
Correct. Yes. Basically,
Which that
yes.
was pretty seamless.
You're right. Actually, I forgot about Social Network. Yeah, that's basically what we're talking about.
Of course, that was Armie Hammer's actual face that they're putting on another body. This would be digitally making a younger Harrison Ford.
Yeah, this would be
face.
taking the stills from A New Hope, basically, and aging him a little bit younger than that. Because we're talking, at least what the rumors have been, this is about 10 years before Episode 4. So this is about, when Han's roughly around 16, 17 years old, is what the rumors are. And the thing about
this
it
is like
is this
American
actor,
Graffiti, right? Well, he wasn't that young in American Graffiti, but
no, he wasn't. That was. I don't think he
That's
was
actually-
acting before this. He didn't start acting until he was in his 20s,
it's still American Graffiti, right?
Right.
That was his first movie, right?
which is
Yeah.
like 20 when he was like 24 or something like that.
just not too many years before Star Wars.
Yeah, it was like 2 years before Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like 27 when he did Star Wars. Mm-hmm. So he was around what age Han was in Episode 4. But this is about 10 years before that, apparently, when he's in his late teens. And the guy that's playing him is obviously older as well. So it's like, I don't even know how they're going to, because that's the problem I have is if he looks older than what he's supposed to be, if he's 17 but he looks 25, it's like someone doesn't change that much over 10 years. You know what I mean? Like you can still see the person's what they look like. Like if you see Harrison Ford's actual pictures when he's 17, it looks like Harrison Ford.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't look like this kid.
Right.
This guy. So it's like that's where I'm starting to have a problem with it. And they're doing the same thing because they casted a young Lando apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, and your voice doesn't change that much. I mean,
No.
you don't start out as Ted on How I Met Your Mother, and then later you sound like Bob Saget. It just doesn't happen that way.
It does not happen that way.
Why did they? And
So
I don't even. Like
I can
that
understand if it was a 10-year-old Han Solo,
show.
but
Right. Like in the Lego thing.
but like in the Lego thing, but they're not doing that. So it's like, it's hard. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it right now.
Yeah.
Until I see something, until I don't know. That's the one route I wish maybe they didn't go. I would have rather seen a animated movie of it or an animated TV show of it. Because you could get Harrison Ford to actually voice it.
Right.
Just like they do
Maybe.
Billy D. Williams voices Lando.
Well, that's Billy D. This is Harrison freaking Ford.
Well,
a little different.
It would be fine, I think. Or you would probably get James Arnold Taylor could probably voice Han Solo. He could probably change his voice to Han Solo. So
probably.
Anyway, a little bit of a tangent, but that is a concern. Now, to kind of go back on my original question, we've always said on the show that that was probably the most brilliant thing to do was stay around that original trilogy just because of the nostalgic of our generation and the generation a little bit before us to reconnect with, Vader and Luke and Han and Tarkin and the Death Star and all this stuff. So,
but now they're really going to that well. Well, they are and they aren't. More Vader, or actually having Vader in this one besides just a melted mask.
Right.
So that was a lot of some people's criticism over Episode 7 was it was so much like Episode 4 and so nostalgic. I didn't have a problem with it. But do you think because of those criticisms, they're going to purposely not get too nostalgic in this one? Or do like the connections that didn't have to be made? Example, Anakin made C-3PO. That didn't have to happen. We didn't need that tie-in, I don't know how you feel about it, but we didn't need to have that happen. Do you think they're going to purposely keep those things out of Rogue One, or are they going to go the Episode 7 model and let's just nostalgic this thing up?
Well, I think real quick on the 3PO thing, I think that Episode 1 was an origin of everybody that you're familiar with, right? So it was the origin of Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was a Padawan and how he became a knight. It was the origin of how they found Anakin. But the two most, arguably the other two most important people from the original trilogy, R2 and 3PO, you found out how they got in the mix of all these things, right? So whether he was built by, Anakin or not or somebody, I think you had to see. It was good to see where he came from. So to me, it doesn't really matter.
I guess to me, it kind of felt like a little bit of a stretch. Like, oh, really? Darth Vader built C-3PO?
Well, you obviously knew. That's the thing. Yes, you obviously knew he was going to get his memory wiped. There's no way that you're like, wait a minute, how can he be at Episode 4 and he not know where he's at?
Right.
So obviously he gets wiped.
Yeah.
But why R2 never says anything? I don't know if that could be explained. Like, oh, hey,
R2's
Leia. By the way,
a little bit of a jerk.
Yeah, I know, right? Leia. By the way, yeah, I've been at Tatooine. I know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah. By the way, Leia, you're not supposed to have a British accent.
Yeah. Hey, do you know that? Well, again, novels.
Yeah.
They're explaining a lot. There's a line in Bloodline. There's a book out there called Star Wars Bloodline that takes place about 15 or 20 years after Episode 6, about 10 years before Episode 7. And it's about Leia, basically, and starting this resistance and all this stuff. Casey read it, and there's a paragraph in there that specifically talks about that scene in Episode 4, talking to Tarkin.
What?
And she explains why she did the accent.
What?
I'm telling you, that's
okay. Well, what's the explanation?
Well, it's that she wanted to. She's basically mocking Tarkin because he has a British accent.
Right.
So
it's also. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I get around a British person, and whether I want to or not, I start talking
exactly
in a British
right.
accent.
So that's what she's saying.
I'm sorry.
She was saying,
I'm not trying to make fun of you.
I think it was something like, I didn't mean to, but I was kind of playing fun at him, or it was weird how they explained that scene because people like you mentioned, they had a problem with her changing her accent all of a sudden. but they went back and explained it. It's pretty crazy.
What was one of the lines she said? I'm having a hard time.
Governor Tarkin.
Yeah.
I should have recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board or something like that.
That's right. When I was brought on board.
Yeah, exactly, right? So she says that line.
Are you making fun of my accent, Princess Leia? Princess Leia?
I should have guessed you holding Vader's leash. You know, it's like
yeah.
so she says it in that book about why she was talking like that. So that just gets us crazy the detail, right? The story group is doing.
Are they going to like explain why that one stormtrooper hit his head on the on the door?
I mean, that
trooper was a little drunk.
Yeah, that's been talked about a lot in different things, and
he put some stuff in his blue milk, and
yeah. But I do. But back to the nostalgic thing. You know, I think the. I think Rogue One is so, because Rogue One literally happens frames before Episode 4. I mean, it is that connected.
Yeah.
Like, did you even realize that it was crazy? Like, some of the people were actually mentioning whether or not Rogue One would have a sequel. And it's
it's called Episode 4.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, we don't have to make a sequel because just watch Episode 4.
Right.
And it literally is the next frame. It should, at least that's how I think it's going to line up.
Now, it's going to be interesting to not, I would imagine, not see Leia,
Well, there's rumors about that again.
Oh, man.
There's rumors, because Jimmy Smith is in this movie.
Right.
Which I am 100% so proud of that they did that only because of this. Because ever since Disney, took over, at least to me and a lot of fans out there that are fans of the prequels, there has been a disconnect. Like, you almost feel like they are kind of separating themselves from that.
Yeah, they're like, those prequels didn't really happen.
Yes. They use the imagery and they talk about it, especially around the Clone Wars, and of course Anakin, but they kind of distance themselves a little bit from it. And I'm glad to see that they pulled somebody from that prequel, like Jimmy Smits. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even Guinevere Riley, I think her name is, that plays Mon Mothma. She was actually in the deleted scenes of Episode 3 as Mon Mothma.
Well, she's a dead ringer.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, even in Episode 3, you can see her. It was no wonder why they chose her.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of upset about George, because those scenes were important to me in Episode 3, because it was like the early parts of the rebellion. So. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they brought her back to be Mon Mothma still, and the fact that they got Jimmy Smits in there, I was like, okay, so to me that is acknowledgement that the prequels are to them still part of the main storyline and all that stuff, right? I mean, not that they weren't, but the fact that they didn't recast them or anything like that, it's very important, I think. And now yeah, I mean, nostalgic. I think the nostalgic of this movie is just really going to be, and I want you to comment on this too, because this is one of my questions was, are you how because obviously all we've seen is the trailer so far and all that stuff, but it's like, do you feel like it's going to line up with Episode 4 as far as the feel and the way it looks and the way it's shot? Because to me, that's what's so incredible about it right now, is that how much it looks like Episode 4.
Yeah. Well, I think I made this comment to you before. Looking at the trailer, Rogue One looks more in the Star Wars universe than Episode 7 does for me. And I know
Correct.
that's a 30-year gap and things change, but just, I don't know. And I don't know what it is. If it's, did they shoot this one on film as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So I don't know if it's the film stock or the way they colored it, or is it just the fact that I'm looking at stormtroopers, classic stormtroopers instead of the new troopers, but it looks like 4, 5, and 6. And Episode 4 is the hardest one to emulate because it's the lowest tech movie
Right.
because of its budget and so forth.
Because they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Exactly. They were making up as they went.
Yeah.
So it's the biggest challenge, you know? But so far from what I've seen, it's... I mean, there were some shots in episode 7 I'm just thinking about from the trailers that were like, whoa. You know, the TIE fighters with the sun in the distance.
Yeah.
That shot, the reveal of the downed Star Destroyer, things like that. You're just like, whoa. This movie, stormtroopers walking on the beach, walking in water. Never seen them do that. What's the name of the city?
Jeddah.
Jeddah, yeah.
Well, it's the planet it's on. Yeah,
planet,
Jeddah.
okay. It just looks like, and even like, you know, I'm doing the card trader on the phone thing. So I've been pulling some cards from Rogue One and just looking at those pictures, those stills, like, wow.
Yeah.
This completely fits and looks like the originals.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be so happy to see the actual stormtroopers again.
Right?
You know, versus First Order stormtroopers. It's like, now that's a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
You know, and
I'm so happy to hear you say that, Dave.
oh man, you know, I got a stormtrooper in my room right behind me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a huge stormtrooper fan, and the First Order thing was, okay, this is the new futuristic looking stormtrooper, which I'm not a huge fan of. I like it,
Yeah,
but
it just I think the aesthetics are just much more pleasing on the original troopers.
Yeah, and it's no. I think this was by far it's just a great idea. I mean, a great idea to do on a movie about because it's simple to read the second paragraph in episode 4 where it talks about this entire movie. You know, rebel spies stealing the Death Star plans, and you can kind of just envision how that goes in so many different ways. You know. Oh, what they do? Just run into a base and steal it and then run out? Or was there actually a freaking battle, which that's what we're going to obviously see, is that there is actually a freaking battle, like a big-time battle that went on just before Leia gets the plans.
Do you think many Bothans died, or is that only in the second Death Star?
That's only the second Death Star.
Okay,
There's no Bothans in this one.
Bothans, okay, no Bothans.
Yeah, there's just humans in this one, and and a space monkey.
And a space monkey. Hope he's okay.
He I think he might make it.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the thing too, is what you're even learning more so now, especially with Jyn Erso and her father. And there's so not only are we learning about the actual rebels that stole the plans, but with this movie and with the book Catalyst, you're learning so much more about the Death Star that you ever can possibly think of, as far as where it actually originated from, how it went into development, why it took 19 years to become operational. You know, what went into making it, who was involved, who didn't know, who knew. I mean, I'm 22 chapters in a 28 chapter book on Catalyst. And there's so much I know more about the Death Star now that I never thought I would know. And we're going to talk about that book a lot after the Rogue One comes out because there's a lot of spoilers in it. But not spoilers for the movie, but, you know, like things that I don't know if they reveal in the movie or not. But her father and Krennic, I mean, these are two major characters in the development of that Death Star that you just don't know about when you just watch 4, 5, and 6. You know, you have no idea. You think, you kind of feel like Tarkin is it, but he's not even close to being it. And so that's the intriguing thing, is that just on that side, and that's the part of the marketing that they haven't touched on. They haven't touched on anything on the Empire side. It's been all about these rebels, right? You don't know anything in the trailers about Krennic's story, about how Vader's involved, about what's going on with the Death Star, all you know is these band of rebels are trying to steal the plans. Well, I think there's a lot in the Empire side that will be more revealed in the movie than I think people think is going to happen, especially with Jyn Erso's father, Galen. There's a lot going on there. And I suggest them. We've said it already in the past couple of weeks. Catalyst, if you can get it in before the movie, get it in. If not, just go back and read it afterwards because it is vital as far as the information you can get out of it for this whole Death Star thing. It's remarkable. Like I'll just say this is not a spoiler or anything, but well, you've been watching Rebels, right?
I'm actually a little behind.
Okay.
Had a little DVR malfunction, and for whatever reason, I can't get the Disney app to work on streaming, and I'm a little behind.
So have you seen the episode where they go to Geonosis?
No.
Okay, then I won't say it because that's pretty important.
Okie dokie.
What were you going to ask?
I don't remember. Oh no, I do. So is it confirmed or just highly likely that the Death Star's laser is powered by
Kyber crystals?
Kyber crystals.
That is confirmed. It is.
That is confirmed. Okay.
It is Kyber crystals that is the mechanism that provides the Death Star with a super laser.
Interesting.
Because if you can now see, that's another thing that's so crazy about it. That's I'm not revealing too much, I don't think, in the book, but yes, the research on Kybers and how much that they're Kyber crystals that the Jedi obviously use the power of their lightsabers, but they're actually like, in a sense, they're actually living. In a sense, they're not just crystals. There's a essence to them, or even a soul. Not a soul, but there's a force connection in there, and that's why the Jedi they've actually kept the Kybers they've kept them to themselves in a sense because of how much power they actually possess. Basically, for this very reason, that if people use them or evil use them in a way that can manipulate their power, this is what can happen. So they knew that, and they kept secret all the big Kyber crystals that are out there. So it wasn't until the fall of the Jedi and the rise of the Empire, but obviously Palpatine knew about this, that there was actually bigger Kybers out there that you can manifest into superpower. And then the cool thing is I think we mentioned, I don't know if you knew about this, but in the book Ahsoka, you find out why when dark side users use their Kybers, that their blade is red. And I don't know if I can't remember if I told you about that.
Yes,
because the crystals are clear; they're not colored.
Yeah, right.
And so,
they change by the person to be either blue or green.
Yes. And then when a dark side user tries to use a Kyber, they're actually bending the Kyber to their will, which makes it bleed, thus becoming a red blade.
So why didn't Anakin's blade turn red?
Now once it becomes a color, it's always that color.
Oh, that's right. So he'd have to get a new crystal and then.
So when he built his new saber,
bend it.
Yeah, because when he built his Darth Vader saber.
Darth Vader saber. I love that band.
Yeah, it was it was a new it was a different crystal. So okay, so I don't think I have anything else on Rogue One besides just your just give kind of your overall expectation of the movie. I mean, what'll make you walk out of that movie completely satisfied?
I mean, I'm going to go with the simple answer and just say a really solid story. Mm-hmm. I'm confident in the acting of all the actors involved with it. I'm pretty confident in the directing. The trailers have looked excellent. Of course, we've all been burned on trailers that have looked good and the movie hasn't been. But really, I just think it comes down to the way that they tell the story. And as long as it's a well-written movie, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah. I'll talk about mine next week.
I mean, it kind of looks like they're going to fire the Death Star, maybe a test or something, which will be cool. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of Easter eggs and things like that are all going to make us geek out.
Okay, that's one Easter egg. How about this? Besides Vader, do we see a lightsaber in this movie?
Well, yeah, actually, I was wondering that. Like, what do all Star Wars movies have in common? A lightsaber battle.
That's right.
Is this one going to have it? Can you? I mean, I know eventually, probably, you have to do a movie without a lightsaber battle, but can you do it this soon? The first non-episodic movie, can you do one without a lightsaber battle? Man, I don't know. I kind of hope there's a lightsaber battle.
I wasn't even thinking there would be a battle. More or less, just anybody even
ignited?
having a lightsaber? Yeah, does anybody even have a lightsaber? Because think about
Darth Vader.
Because think about this. This is where it gets a little fuzzy, and I'll be interested to hear your opinion on this. The rebels, at this point, they should know about Kanan and Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's Jedi working with the rebellion. Even though, technically, as of right now, where Rebels is, where this is, there's probably about 3 years.
Yeah, they could be dead.
Possibly, but, in fact, I think they have to be, because in the fact that when Luke comes around, it's like, okay, you're our only hope. It's like, well, what do you mean? Just because he's a Jedi or because he's Anakin's son? Because you had Jedi already a part of your rebellion. It's like, I feel like there was this big like, oh my God, there's still a Jedi alive. Well, you already had a Jedi, a couple of them. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Something's got to give there to me in my mind. That something has to be either they. Yes.
Well, okay. I'll answer this real quick. Boom. No problem.
Okay.
Kanan dies, and Ezra falls to the dark side, so he's not a Jedi anymore. Okay.
Right.
Because he's got to be in episode 8. Right?
Is he Snoke?
8. He's not Snoke, but he's...
It could be.
He could be.
That's actually about the same age, or roughly the best age.
He could be Snoke. Absolutely.
There's theories out there about him being Snoke.
There's theories. There's theories that Mace Windu is Snoke.
Well, yeah, that's really dumb. But I do think Windu's alive, though. But,
hey, you get
survived.
You get struck by Force lightning and thrown out of a window, and see how much like you look like Snoke after it's all said and done.
I get that. The only problem I have is how much time has gone by, and all of a sudden he's part of the Empire. Because that was episode 3, so you're talking 20, 50, you're talking 50 something years.
Yeah,
so that's a little far fetched versus Ezra, who is still young right now and is flirting with the dark side.
Right.
So, but in the end, I think the Ghost Crew has a fate which is a clock is ticking, unfortunately. Because that's the thing too, Easter egg wise. I mean, I would be freaking flipping out if they just had a shot of the Ghost in Rogue One. You know what I mean? Or
yeah.
Or you see a green Twi'lek just walking to a ship. Something like that. It's like that would do so much for me. But I know that Gareth Edwards and them probably weren't even thinking about it. But I'm wondering if they're going to start ever connecting the TV shows to the movies.
Well, I think that's the job of the story group. Like you said, it's the story group looks at the script and like, hey, here's a cool suggestion. Let's.
Well, they had done it with Saul Guerrero.
Yeah, exactly. Forrest Whitaker. So,
Yep.
Say, hey, wouldn't it be
That's
cool
true.
if we put a female Mandalorian in this movie with colorfully painted armor? Boom.
Yep. Actually, you know what? I'm thinking that is if it's going to happen, if they're going to do any Easter egg to Rebels, it's going to be around that round table where they're talking about the Death Star plans. That there's that shot of the Ghost Crew or somebody on that Ghost Crew. Mm-hmm. Like that would be the perfect time to put it. They don't have to say anything.
Right.
They just have to sit there and react. You know, and just think about it though. What if you just see Hera there? Then it's like, well, where are the other ones at?
Right.
It's like I don't know. So some to me, something has to be explained, and I think they will. But something has to be explained. Where's Kanan? Where's Ezra? Why isn't anybody talking about Jedi anymore? Why is it so much a big surprise all of a sudden when Luke comes on and has a lightsaber and all this stuff? So anyway, what anything else you have on Rebels or Rogue One or? Now you know that they have confirmed that there's not a crawl,
right? Which is going to be weird.
It is going to be weird.
But it's already been weird for me, and I don't know if I ever said this or not. But when Episode 7 came out and there wasn't the Fox fanfare, because obviously it's not Fox anymore,
right?
And it just started with a long time ago. I was like,
well, it started with the Lucasfilm. At least it did have Lucasfilm.
Yeah, at least it had the Lucasfilm. Yeah, that was the big worry. They would be like Disney, and then no more Lucasfilm. But luckily, they've kept that as its own entity within Lucasfilm or Disney. But yeah, when they just did Lucasfilm, and then a long time ago, it's like, where's the because hearing that, even if you weren't watching a Star Wars movie, you thought you were getting ready to watch a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, even if it wasn't a Star Wars movie.
You were like, oh my God, Star Wars. And then it's,
That's true.
Son-in-Law or whatever. I don't know. Some lame movie. But
you noticed on the digital versions and the Blu-rays that they don't start with that.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry. The Blu-rays do. But ever since they released the digital versions, because that's been released by Disney.
Oh, because the Fox thing is
They don't have the Fox thing on there, except Episode 4. Because Fox has a lifetime contract of distribution for Episode 4.
Well, good for them.
So you will always, unless for some reason that gets disputed or removed, but as of right now, you will always hear a Fox logo in front of Episode 4.
Good.
In fact, I don't know. I'm sure people notice, but like on some of those digital platforms that you buy, like on Disney Movies Anywhere, you cannot buy Episode 4. You can only buy 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7.
Well, that's a problem.
Yes, it is a problem. But like on iTunes, you can. Some of those. I think Vudu, you can right now, and stuff like that. But there's some of them that you cannot buy Episode 4. Anyway,
well,
so real quick, I guess. So you said Rebels. Your Rebels you're a little behind on, but real quick, talk about your hype, if it's even exists yet, for Episode 8.
It exists. Well, I think Episode 8 is going to be everything that we got so excited about in those last 2 minutes of Episode 7. It's like,
right.
Oh, hey, Luke, we know you can talk. Say something. It's Luke is now Obi-Wan and Yoda combined. He's the master. We get to hopefully find out just how powerful he is. And I feel like he should be the most powerful Jedi in history. Just going to say it. I think he is the most powerful ever.
You haven't even seen him use his lightsaber technically against anybody but Vader.
Correct.
I will.
I
I
think
will,
he's earned it, man. It's Mark
well,
Hamill. He's
I don't know
earned it.
because right now, I get maybe he could get there because right now even the books aren't really expanding on. The comics aren't really even expanding on what there's going to be more story between 6 and 7. I'm sure. So maybe he'll get there, but right now, you know how much I am a huge fan of Yoda, my favorite character by far. But I have come to believe, and we've talked about it on this show, I have come to believe that the most powerful Jedi is probably Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because think about the only guy to technically survive everything. And he probably could have beat Vader in Episode 4 if he didn't sacrifice himself.
Yeah, I mean, he knew going in. There's other. What did he say? There's other ways to win besides fighting. Paraphrasing.
Yes. But with if you think about Darth Maul, and Dooku, he needed some help, but he defeated Vader in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Anakin being who technically was the most powerful at the time. But to survive for 19 years, on Tatooine, and who knows what storylines are there, which we'll probably hopefully hear about and read about at some point.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a huge Obi-Wan fan.
Yeah, so I'm just convinced he's pretty freaking powerful. I mean, Anakin described him the best in Episode 2 as powerful as Master Windu and as wise as Master Yoda. I mean. What else can you say?
He was just sucking up. He was sucking up.
Well, yeah, but you can't get more powerful than that.
Does it make sense to say that he is too humble to be the most powerful?
That's probably a decent argument. There's probably an argument there, sure.
Like I don't think, insanely talented, but he would never feel like he would need to use his full extent of his abilities or his powers, nor would he seek out knowledge to make himself even more powerful. And I kind of feel like Luke, being the last of the Jedi, he spent his time finding holocrons and researching and learning and finding old Jedi temples and all this to learn and absorb and practice as much as he can because he was the last Jedi, and I just feel like he has more of the personality of I will learn everything I can and I will practice and actually use everything that I can.
Luke, that is right.
Luke, correct.
But it's hard because since he is the only one to actually get that training. And get
holocrons.
Well, very true, but Obi-Wan was hands-on all those years with Yoda.
Yeah.
Hands-on all those years with Qui-Gon.
Right.
So it's Luke, had a little bit of time with Yoda and then or a little time with Obi-Wan and then a little time with Yoda. But being so old, he missed out on all those years as a youngling, so it's like
I know, yeah. Yeah, that's a good argument, too.
But he is the offspring of arguably the most powerful Jedi.
Right.
So he has the most probably potential. And
in a weird way, he defeated the Emperor.
You're right.
In a roundabout way.
He overcome the dark side in order to fulfill his destiny, so he has the makings of becoming, absolutely, I think. But unfortunately, we skipped 30 years of his career.
I know.
You know what I mean? I mean, looking back, it's like, man, and I don't know if you know this, but I know me and Casey have talked about this one time on the show. That, and I'll be interested to hear your take on this because I think you're actually going to be surprised I say this. But should 4, 5, and 6 actually been 1, 2, and 3? And instead of the prequels, you did Luke, Han, and Leia, several years after Return of the Jedi. as 4, 5, and 6.
Absolutely.
I knew you would say that.
Absolutely.
So just think about that. Think about, and unfortunately he changed it during the 80s. He made, well, actually, I think it was when Return of the Jedi came out. He named it Episode 5. Or I'm sorry, Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
But just think if he would have stuck with 1, 2, and 3, and then, 18 years later, we got 4, 5, and 6. Oh. But
That's what everyone really wanted.
But it was Luke at the height of his Jedi abilities.
Yes. This
right?
Yes. My criticism of the Nolan trilogy is we never even really got Batman in his prime. Because Batman Begins, he was learning. The second movie, from those 3, was in his best shape. And the third one, he was old and crotchety and coming out of retirement, basically. We never got to see him like this ultimate prime. Kind of the same thing with Luke, And if we'd had that 18 years later, yes, that would have been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have probably been, I don't know if he would have been Obi-Wan age. What would he have been? 18 years or so? He would have been in his 40s.
Not quite Obi-Wan age.
Yeah. But I wonder, but maybe don't wait that long and just do, during the early 90s or something like that. I don't know. Either way, we had that we had that discussion about whether or not he should have done that, and
totally.
And not, you could have done the prequels in book form or TV show or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if you really need him. I liked it better when Darth Vader was more mysterious.
Very true, and that's the thing too. Is I think this whole, not his whole thing, but partially his reason for the prequels was not only telling Vader's backstory, but honestly, that whole, think about it, the mystery of the Clone Wars. Everybody talked about the Clone Wars.
Right, yeah. You served with my father in the Clone Wars.
Yes.
Oh, what are those? That sounds cool.
Yes, that sounds awesome. Clone Wars? What the heck?
Yeah.
It's like...
Should have just been a TV show, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
Yeah. But that's what we got out of the prequels was the Clone Wars.
Right.
So, okay, last bit of news. I do want to mention this. I don't know if you saw this yet, but there's a clip out there with all the Rogue One cast and director doing the press junkets. Someone asked Gareth Edwards, had George Lucas seen the movie yet, Rogue One?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they had just actually shown him a couple of days before the press junket. And he goes, I won't talk about the conversation I had with George. He said, which is mind blowing because he couldn't even believe he met George. But all he said was simply that George said George liked it. So take that for what it's worth. But
okay.
But it seems like George was pretty happy with it so far.
Cool.
Which he even said, it's funny because, he's completely, Gareth Edwards, if you watch a lot of his interviews, he is a freaking fanboy. He's just like all of us. And it's funny, he said that so he knew that they had shown George, and he said he was at Lucasfilm, and someone pulled him aside and said, hey, George wants to see you. He's in the other room there. And he said, his
Lucas?
jaw hit the floor, and he was like, no, I can't talk to him. Yeah,
no,
he's like, and he even said it. He's like God. I can't talk to him. It's like
he is the creator.
Yeah, the creator. I
must avert my eyes. Avert your eyes.
But it's fun that it's still, because again, that's a lot of us, and that's even though he's not involved, he's so, he's so revered like that to us. Still, and
he's still the
like,
man.
Oh man, it's like all of us that, I know he still was part of it then, but back when we were at Celebration, when he just happened to show up, at that screening we were at, no one knew. It's like people are going crazy, and it's George is the reason, man. So. Okay, so wrapping this up, anything else Star Wars related you want to know or throw out there or comment on?
Not that I can think of right now.
Well, I'm sure we're going. Well, we won't wait another 130 episodes to get Chad back on here. We will get a full review. I'm going to try to get a full review on all the guys that we've talked to or go see the movie with. We're seeing it, of course, Thursday night, the opening night, the 7 o'clock, the first Eastern time zone showing of Rogue One, 7 o'clock on Thursday night, the 15th. And we've already got tickets for Friday afternoon, so we'll be hitting a couple showings of that. So just to give a heads up on the next couple episodes, next week, like I said, Casey and I will be on here talking about our preview and predictions for Rogue One. We'll go see the movie, and then the following week, we're going to bring a couple guests on the show that have been on, I think, before, but not too often. But first, we'll get Cody Geiler on here and Jeb Smith because they both read Catalyst. So we're going to talk about Catalyst a lot that episode. As far as and then obviously Casey and I will do a big full review of the movie, and then of course I want to get eventually we'll get more opinions from Chad and from Russell and Corey on their reactions to Rogue One as we celebrate this movie here in the next few weeks and going into the holidays. So, of course, we're at InsideTheForce.com, at Inside the Force on Twitter, Facebook. We actually have a brand new, I just started, I don't know why I've never done it, got a brand new Instagram account for Inside the Force. Of course, it's at Inside the Force. So we're kind of branching out into some. We're not going to do. I'll just preview it a little bit. We're not going to do like really many pictures. We're going to actually just reveal a lot of art and stuff that's out on the web, Star Wars related stuff that we create, and stuff like that. So it won't be a lot of pictures. It'll be just a lot of artwork from the Star Wars galaxy. So
right on.
And then of course, I know we keep saying it, and Chad's been a part of this as well. But we've got a big change coming as far as the networks go and all that stuff. And I mean, if you're really following us, you kind of get it. But things are moving and changing. And we're almost there. Got a lot of stuff to talk about here in the next few weeks. But again, catch Chad at he's on Twitter at Chad Perkins 21. Of course, he's hosting his bourbon channel. It's Bourbon Night. Go check out. If you want to know a little bit about Bourbon Night, go check out our web series, 21daysofseaton.com. Episode 8 actually is Bourbon Night.
Right. Inspired by true events.
That's right. Inspired by true events. So if you want to know what Bourbon Night is, go check that out. Go check out his channel. Follow him on Twitter. And, of course, I'm DConnian21 on Twitter. Casey, of course, is Kryptonian1138. I think that's about everything. So, I do want to mention, I keep forgetting to mention this. I've been putting out, Chad, I don't even know if you recognize this, but every Monday it's hashtag ITF poll. We put a poll out Inside the Force. Have you seen those yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, you must not be looking at our Twitter feed that
well,
often.
You know.
So every Monday we put out a poll. Today's poll, because it's today's Monday, we put out. Do you think, and you can go ahead and answer this if you want. And you can answer it on the poll, Chad. The poll question we put out today was: do you think we'll see an Episode 8 teaser attached to Star Wars Rogue One?
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that. And well, it is just a year away. So, like the first teaser?
The first teaser.
Oh, man.
Because the whole movie shot.
Yeah. Wowzers.
Now, I'm not basing it off anything I've heard or read. That is complete. Yeah. Just like, do you think we'll get something? So that's go ahead.
I'm gonna say. Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna say probably not, but I hope so.
Yeah. So everybody
really
go vote.
So.
Go to at Inside the Force and vote on that. Right now, I just put this out like 2 hours ago. Right now, no is winning. So we appreciate everybody that's interacting with that. So you're on the majority right now. Now I'll just say the previous one, the last one, since we did an episode, last one, I'll say the results of that one. We put out a ITF poll saying we've been thrilled with Catalyst so far. Has anyone else read the novel? 57% yes have read Catalyst so far. 43 have not. And then just for you, Chad, you know these polls that we've been putting out. The one before that was, I'd be interested to know about your opinion on this. Which Jedi Master would you want to be trained under? Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn, or Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Oh, that's got to be Obi-Wan. And I would say Obi-Wan over Old-Bi-Wan.
Yes.
I would want to be trained by,
Episode 3 Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
So he barely won, 37% over 36% Mace Windu.
Wow. No love for Qui-Gon. I think Qui-Gon's very underrated.
He is. I think he's very underrated as well.
Yeah. I think if, what if he had trained Anakin instead of Obi-Wan? I don't know. Things would happen differently. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so then like I said, we put a poll out there. Here's one. I'll do another one, older one. This is one of the first ones we did. Who's the next classic character you'd like to see appear on Rebels? Luke, Han, Boba Fett, or the Emperor?
Boba Fett.
That was obviously a majority of 64%.
Yeah, it's also the easiest. It makes the most sense.
Yeah.
You can even get that actor who played Jango to be the voice.
Come back, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Tomorrow Morrison, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, so thanks for everybody participating in those. Those run for 2 or 3 days. I think I put them for 3 days to run before we record on Thursdays to reveal the results. So that's what's out there right now. We won't reveal the results of that until, I probably should have made that run a little bit more, but that's only running for 3 days. We'll reveal those results mainly next week when me and Casey do the review show, preview show. All right, so now Chad, Mondays. ITF
Mondays.
Poll. Get on there and
I'm
vote.
mostly, my social media presence is mainly all on Instagram, and it's under the Bourbonite account. I'm hardly even on my own account because I post daily on Instagram for It's Bourbonite.
Really?
Yeah, I have for 230 something days now, straight.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, hold on, I can tell you. 249 consecutive posts. So
nice.
Well, we have 2,287 followers. So
good.
Getting up there.
Good. So you've neglected your Twitter account.
Yeah, we have like 120 Twitter followers.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Chad is, of course, if you want to, so maybe you shouldn't follow him on Twitter because he's.
Well, no, do so.
Yeah.
I every time we post on Instagram, I link it to Twitter. So it also, there's a daily Twitter post as well. Mm-hmm. Just whatever your medium is, for this, it's visual. We'll also post videos occasionally on Instagram too. So it's just more friendly to our medium, I guess.
Right. Got it. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening. He is Chad Perkins. Thanks for being on the show, Chad.
My pleasure. Good to be back.
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years.
We'll see you in we'll see you in 3 more years.
Yeah, I guess you really had to scrape the bottom of the barrel for this one.
Yeah, we'll get Chad back on here for some Rogue One review, but
you should do a poll. Your next poll should be, what did you think of having Chad on the show?
Oh,
was he a good guest host, or yay, nay? Don't say no.
There'll probably be one vote from you.
Yeah, he was the best. Yeah. Says Chad Perkins 2-1. What?
Right. I don't think I can see actually whose vote. Though.
Oh, well, good.
So you could vote for yourself. That's fine.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Go watch Rogue One. If you haven't bought tickets, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Yeah, it's sold out.
It's probably sold out, so you might have to catch it on the weekend.
Yep.
But we'll be right back next week with our review and then our preview and then review after that and all kinds of stuff talking about, because I'm sure we're going to be talking about Rogue One for a long, long time.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Chad.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening, and may the Force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.